Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Amanda Shivari here, and we are actually live right now printing a 3D printed barrel of a gun. Now, this is actually something that is coming up a lot in the media lately because you probably have heard about it. Overnight, a federal judge actually blocked the publishing of about a couple dozen blueprints for 3D printed guns. But even though that move went through, there are still blueprints available online, which means you are able to print this type of barrel. Also, if you take a look down here at the table, this is how this gun was able to be printed. We're going to just talk about this process. This is Grant Posner. He is the owner of 3D Musketeers, a 3D printing business here in the Bay Area. So first, just talk to me about the technology we're seeing here. How is it possible that this can happen?
So this is technically called fused deposition modeling. We are essentially taking a hot glue gun, sticking it to an Etch-a-Sketch, and computer controlling it. We have the raw material, which is a very, very bright orange, and we are extruding it out at very hot temperatures and cooling it very quickly to produce hard, rigid models. So what we see here is the barrel for the Liberator, which is the 3D printed firearm in question today here in the news.
Great. I'm actually pulling up our live feed right now so that people can, if they have any questions, feel free to ask. We can see what you're saying there. Hi, Georgia. Hi, Edward. Hi, Daniel. So let us know what your questions are with this. So one of the things that is really controversial about this is that you don't need a background check to do this. You could do this if you had access to this printer. Obviously, some of these guns can be made with all plastic, so that means you can't detect them in a metal detector. There's no serial number, so therefore they're untraceable. But how does this type of material, which is basically a Lego, stack up against a regular gun?
It just doesn't. You know, when this particular firearm is chambered in 380 auto, which has over 20,000 psi of pressure, which is quite a bit more than I expected. I had to do some research to find that. And I don't know about you, but I'm not going to trust my life to this. Is it a cool display piece to show what's possible with 3D printing? Absolutely. But I think any of us that took physics in high school remembers the Newton laws. This is a very good descriptor here of equal but opposite reaction.
Certainly. I'm actually going to swing around here real quick just to grab the 3D printed gun that you have right here. Now, this is actually not functional.
Correct.
But when you put it together, you already hit a snag.
Yeah, we did. And this is one of those things that I'm just going to stop where we were on the production of building it, because if we can zoom in a little bit, you'll see that the handle cracked. And that was just inserting a pin to hold it all together. And let's be real here. If the handle cracked, I'm not going to trust this barrel. And this is printed to the specifications from Defense Distributed, which is the company that provided these files out. Now, they were supposed to wait until this past night, but they didn't. Cody Wilson has been involved in litigation for over 3 years.
And that's the owner of the Texas-based company behind the release of these blueprints.
Correct, correct. And we were able to obtain these blueprints. This one does qualify for it will be picked up with metal detectors. It has a space down here that you are supposed to insert a metal slug. There is a cover that you can print to cover it up as well. But without that metal slug, this gun is guaranteed to fail.
But there are prints for fully plastic guns.
There are. So there is an original print for this firearm that is 100% plastic, but that would be very illegal because it is considered an unregistered and undetectable firearm.
And talk to me a little bit about this process. What is illegal? We've been talking about it this morning, sharing it with our viewers. It's not the actual 3D printing part that is the issue with the federal judge and the issue that happened last night. Right.
So the big issue here is ITAR. And ITAR basically handles weapons trade to countries that the United States may or may not like.
And ITAR is the International Traffic in Arms Regulation.
Correct. And the big issue here is this file could get in the hands of enemies of the United States. And that's why everything initially happened. And Cody Wilson, owner of Defense Distributed, decided that he wasn't going to stand for that. His Second Amendment right, along with his First Amendment right, allowed him to do this.
So you guys on Facebook, we have your comments here right now. Let us know what you think. Do you think you want to see these blueprints be published online? Is this something that you would like access to? Do you say no way, they should not be available for general view? And let's actually come over here and show me this other piece that you were able to pick up from a gun shop. And I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit earlier. So what is this and why is it of interest?
So this piece is actually on loan from Grey Wolf Armory out in Wesley Chapel. This is a AR-15 upper. It has a large crack in it. So this is fully polymer, so it's made of nylon with glass fiber in it to make it extremely strong, but the customer was looking to put on a new muzzle brake, and unfortunately they tweaked it a little too hard. And this is the danger of having polymer or plastic firearms, that they're very brittle, and especially one that's fully 3D printed, they're just not going to last.
Yeah, and we see some people on Facebook right now saying, no way, they don't want that. You know, some people are saying that they don't feel it's safe. Some people are just taking the stance that they don't want more guns out there. One of the things that we've talked about it a little bit before, but people who are joining again on Facebook now, it seems crazy to me that this could stack up against a metal gun.
It's just not going to. At the end of the day, we're dealing with a fairly large round here. This is a 380 auto. It's almost 9 millimeters in diameter, and there's a lot of pressure there. And you know, Newtonian physics, equal but opposite reaction. Will it work? Maybe. It's not going to be very accurate. It may not even have enough power to do any damage, but when you look at that compared to what is available out there, it is extremely large. It will be very difficult for anyone to do something that we might classify as not very smart with.
Certainly. And you know, I know that we talked to Senator Bill Nelson about this. He's actually running you know, again, for his seat in Washington and paying close attention to this. Something that he said is that people are saying, well, the bullet has to be metal, but you can make anything with these 3D printers.
You can, and there are some parts of the bullet that does need to be metal. The casing specifically and the primer. You could theoretically make a plastic bullet. I mean, you'd rather it be lead.
Yeah.
But yes, when you deal with a much lighter bullet, you're not going to get the, I guess, the damage that most people expect that come out of a standard firearm. As far as I'm aware, there are not many people that are 3D printing the bullets themselves. They're just using off-the-shelf bullets.
Certainly. And Marilyn actually writing to us on Facebook saying she doesn't think it's a good idea, but it's a great invention that could be used for horrible use. But on that note of great invention and good technology, let's talk about 3D printing. While we have you here, brag to us. Tell us what you do. You do some pretty cool things, especially in the medical field.
Well, at 3D Musketeers, we do basically anything, and some of the stuff we're most proud of is when we get to help at least try to save lives. And we've done parts for neonatal ICUs for hospitals all around the world, specifically here in Tampa Bay. And we help with pre-surgery prep in a way that doctors would have to generally do invasive surgery first. We let them get a view of what they're getting at before they actually do the surgery. And you know, beyond what we do, there's companies that are working toward printing organs, saving lives. There's a trial in Hollywood, Florida right now for 3D printing pancreas with a machine that costs $20 million. And sure, that's a lot of money, but in the medical industry, that's pennies if you're able to make organs on demand, especially to help with diabetes.
Certainly. And coming back to this process, let's talk about the 3D printing machine. The actual one you have here is somewhat 3D printed in and of itself.
Yes.
How much do these machines cost?
So this particular machine is a Lulzbot Taz 6. They run right around $2,500. As you see it, it's about $3,000. There are machines that are less expensive, and there are certainly ones that are much more expensive. And this one is fully capable of printing almost any plastic-based media out there, including carbon fiber reinforced and glass fiber reinforced materials. You know, people are able to get into 3D printing for less than $400, and while you may not be able to produce a 3D printed firearm, realistically, in my opinion, that's not really the best idea. I understand that if you want to have one because it's cool, great. I would not trust my life to it. It just doesn't feel very safe to me.
Certainly. And how long does it take from start to finish for a 3D firearm?
The entire process takes right around 2 days, but it all does depend on the printer, how much time you're willing to spend. You can obviously have it take a lot longer time and be a little bit stronger than if you wanted to produce it quick. The model that we have on display here is actually in no way, shape, or form strong enough to be fired. It was just made specifically for display purposes, and it took right around 18 hours.
Debbie has not a question, but kind of a comment. I'm not sure if you want to react to this. She says, this is a bad idea. How do we protect ourselves with the ability to get this into people's wrong hands?
Unfortunately, there's not too much that we can do to protect ourselves from getting this into the hands of the bad guys. Realistically, these plans never left the internet. They've always been there. And whether it's from Defense Distributed, which is the company that initially came out with this design, or one of the other repositories out there, there's very little that we can do to stop bad people with a passion to do bad things. What we have to do as a collective group is say, you know, it's cool, not for me, but it is interesting, and to me it shows the capability of the technology, not necessarily what you should do with it, but it does show the capability. And I believe that if someone wants to exercise their Second Amendment right, by all means, enjoy it. But just be very, very careful, because these can explode and they can cause, you know, harm to the user and people around them.
Yeah, for you, this is not so much a national security threat, a public security threat.
Correct.
This is a personal security threat, because it could just go wrong at any moment, because it's not built for the strength.
Right. My biggest concern here is if I was to use one, even if it's just out at a range trying it, I'm more concerned about the gun not performing rather than what is on the other side of the firearm itself. I personally have no fear that we are going to see any crime sprees with these. They're designed for one shot and one shot only. The barrel is non-rifled, which means the bullet is not going to spin. And when bullets don't spin, they tend to tumble and they can deviate. So that means whatever you might be trying to shoot, you may not even hit it. Shooting something 10 feet away would be almost impossible. This to me is more of a proof of concept than a polished, ready-to-go product. And there are companies out there producing fully metal 3D printed firearms. We have here a piece of 3D printed stainless steel, and this is hard steel. I mean, this will go through a wall. It's not going to get damaged. There are companies making guns out of this material that are serial numbered, and you can buy them today. You can buy a 1911. 1911s normally cost somewhere between $500 and $1,000. This one is $14,000.
Wow.
So if you happen to be a gun owner and you want to have that 3D printed gun and you want it to be safe, you're going to spend about 14 grand to get that.
That makes sense. Grant, thank you so much for joining us. Now, again, this is Grant Posner with 3D Musketeers. So head over to their Facebook page, give them a like, because Grant's going to be talking much more about all of this a little bit later on today. Yep. And any questions you have, make sure you leave them below, mention him in them. He'll look through those and you'll be able to answer the questions there. But thank you again for joining us, and you guys have a great day.
Thank you.